I have a question for you, kind of related to that. Do you think the government should fund trans care?
One down.
In what capacity?
Like,
Spike down mid.
you're transgender and you want to get the help and whatever you need to fulfill your
So when people talk about, first off, when people
transition.
talk about government funding for this shit, I think usually what they're talking about is government-sponsored healthcare, so like Medicare. Like Medicare coverage?
No,
One enemy remaining.
okay, I'm just like,
They're over here.
I'm not really talking about specifics. It's more of like a hypothetical. Do you think it
Last
should be
player
funded by the
standing.
Yeah, they're
government?
up in heaven. Just go to A.
30
They'll be there
seconds
quick,
left.
but-
Drop in a smoke.
Do I think that the government should fund gender-affirming care in prisons? Honestly, no. I
10
mean, I think
seconds
people
left.
have other things to worry about in prison. Do I think that's a significant issue anyways? No. How many fucking times does that happen?
Race it to the spike sites.
Probably not many.
Yeah, I seriously doubt that that's happened very many times. It's a similar thing to like trans
Reloading.
athletes, you know, where the Republicans turn that into a huge talking point to rile up their voter base. When
But it's like 6 people.
Yeah, it's really not many people.
Yeah.
And that shit with the locally, that one there's this one, I mean sort of locally. There's this one volleyball player from San Jose State who still hasn't actually been confirmed to be transgender, but there's been a lot of like lawsuits have been filed against her recently. All right, fuck off.
Random bomb here.
A lot of lawsuits have been filed against, like a lot of
Like
teams
what?
have been forfeiting,
Thank
you
you.
know, on the premise that they don't want to play against a man, you know, shit like that. And the thing is, like, first off, there's no way you'd ever be able to tell. Like, you look at her, you listen to her, there's no way you'd ever be able to tell. Second off, she's been playing for 3 years
Cutting their
Something
vision.
mid, careful.
already. And she was, like, good, you know, but she wasn't, like, you know, like to the point where, you know, like it's like she's not fucking LeBron James for women's basketball or for women's volleyball, you know?
Yeah.
Like she was like a solid, like a good player, you know? Like maybe she would be the best player on a bad team, kind of a player, you know? On a good
Okay,
team,
yeah.
she'd probably be like the third best player.
Okay.
I never
So,
land.
but what do you think? Do you think that the government should
Last
fund
player standing.
trans
One
care?
enemy remaining.
Do I think the government should fund trans? I don't think the government really funds much healthcare, like at all. Like I just
Mhm.
have an issue with the way that your question is worded, because it's just, I find it like,
I mean-
if you were to ask me, should the government fund just blank kind of health? Because the government like funds health insurance, and if you're asking from I don't think I don't think we should have health insurance in the first place. I think that, you know,
Mhm.
the whole, you know, medical system and all that shit is just broken to begin with, because nobody's winning right now. Even like you look at young doctors, you know, like young doctors may be making 6 figures and they also have 6 figures a year that they pay in fucking medical school debt. The
Yep.
system's broken, you know, but
I have
if you're asking, should the government be funding care for these people? You know, like, are you talking about should Medicare cover it? You know,
Yeah.
the answer is yes, I think.
Spike down A.
Yeah.
Last player standing.
So I have a unique perspective, and I think it should be covered, but I don't think it should be covered until
I agree.
every single American has access to free healthcare.
Sure,
Bye.
sure, yeah.
Because-
So that's a totally reasonable
That
take.
should be hit 100.
Should
by the way.
it should be covered if other shit are covered. It shouldn't be covered, you know, like that's the only. I don't think anybody's arguing that though.
Well, there's some extremists who are like, this is a big issue, and I'm like, yeah, what about Abigail,
one
the
of
single
these.
mom who's dying of cancer, and she can't get treatment because she's too poor?
Yeah. When you
healthcare
but
system
this
is
is what
fucked.
this is what I'm saying. What I mean when I say like I didn't like how that question is worded, right?
Yeah, I'm
You know,
to be
because it's
immortal.
like, what do you mean by that question?
play dead.
Are you, if you're asking from the perspective of, you know, should that be funded and not other healthcare, then obviously not. You know, but if you're
and
asking, should
that's the
that be
thing.
covered under the umbrella of the rest of healthcare, then yeah, I mean, it should be, it's a certain level of, you know, I don't know. I don't really know how, like, you know, health insurance works and all that, honestly.
I mean, so, um, what's it called?
in a
Gender
smoke.
dysphoria?
Gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
The
So like that is a like legitimate mental illness, and mental illnesses are treated by the government. So I think if we're gonna have healthcare, it should be treated. Like some people don't feel at home in their skin, bro. That's the thing.
Carriers down.
yeah,
Spike
that's just-
down mid.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's what it comes down. And then, I don't know, the different, you can look at, I do think that you should look at science, and science has conflicting things to say about specific
enemy
types
remaining.
of gender-affirming care.
I got the spike.
So when it comes to, like, the more, like, aesthetic plastic surgery types of stuff, that, you know, where I don't know that necessarily that needs to be covered by government health insurance, and, you know, this is
No peeking.
where I may break from a lot of other liberals. But the science simply just does not support that, because,
Spike planted.
like, why?
Not
Okay,
ready
so
yet.
first off, like, why do you want to cover this for trans people? You know, the answer is it saves, or one common answer is that it saves lives. You look at the suicide rate amongst trans people, and it's, you know, just
Right
massively
here.
higher than,
Careful here.
they're in water right now. It's just massively higher than the general public, right?
Well, yeah.
So
I mean, there's a lot of
the
reasons.
whole
Concentrate on
idea of
that
gender
one.
affirming care, like, okay, so we can justify it by trying to, you know, save lives, you know, but if you look at, like, things like facial feminization surgery, or, you know, like the tracheal shave, a lot of those
And basically, I think that I don't think that trans people should be put on a pedestal. I think
I don't
everybody
think
should
that,
have
but
healthcare
that's,
for
but here's
any.
the thing: is this is part of the Republicans controlling the narrative.
It is. They're
Is
the
that
ones doing it.
The Republicans have controlled the narrative, and they're the ones that are telling people that this is what the Democrats want. And the Democrats aren't trying to say that, like, trans people take priority over other people. You know what the Democrats are saying is that, holy, are you fucking
my life.
kidding me?
Spike
What
down
the Democrats are saying
Reloading.
is that trans people should be given the same access to healthcare, to necessary healthcare, as other people. You know, it goes hand in hand when it comes to medical care. You know, it's part of the pocket of you know, giving people access to medical care, right? It's not, you know, we should cover this surgery and nothing else. And maybe, and the Republicans have managed to push this narrative that is what the Democrats are saying, but they're fucking not. And it's ridiculous to me, honestly, that people think that they are.
So maybe not the Democratic officials, but if you go into like trans groups and subreddits, they are
Match point.
very much saying that.
I have
Their
met
life
more
not
trans
yours.
people who think it shouldn't be covered at all than people who think that, and that is because I have met at least one trans person that thinks it shouldn't be covered at all, and I've met no trans people who think that it should be covered over other things. I am not, like, you cannot convince me unless like, I would have to meet
Let's go.
somebody like this IRL to be convinced that the people that are saying that kind of shit aren't fucking, like, plants, like psyop plants. Because there's,
probably.
it's so fucking, that's such an unreasonable thing to say. And but the thing is, the Republicans have convinced people that the Democrats are that unreasonable. And you actually listen to a Democrat talk, any of them.
Spike down mid.
Even AOC's not that fucking batshit crazy. You know, and she's been the boogeyman of the right for a long fucking time.